Hi everyone. I realize this is literally the last day of March, but I am just getting around to uploading this video for my March Gnome of the Month. You can see here I started out with a sketch already ready to go for this one, and I apologize as I erase it, moves the tripod around on my desk a little bit, so bear with me here in the wobbliness of the camera recording as I do the erasing of some of those lines. But I do already have a few colors mixed up. I'm using two art philosophy palettes here. One is the vintage pastels and the other is the essence palette. And I will link those down below if you have any interest in those. So as I normally do, I'm going to start out with the nose and get that painted in. This time I'm using the Arteza watercolor paper, and that is a 5x7 sheet of paper for this one. I tried to do a little bit of a better pre-planning for colors and things that I wanted to do. I did not want to do March as a St. Patrick's Day theme. I wanted it to be more of a beginning of spring theme. So that's why he's holding a little sign that says Welcome Spring, which is what I'm going to start painting now. I started out with this very yellowy toned light brown shade that I'll go over the whole piece with, and then go back later and add some detailing to make it look like just a wooden sign. Next, going in with this really pretty bright green color to paint in the feet. As I've spent some more time painting over the last several weeks, I feel like I've gotten a better handle on the need to work in layers with watercolor. I've always known it, right? Cognitively, I understood it, but I wasn't really putting it into practice as well as I think I have developed over the last a few weeks. So in some of these areas, I'm just laying down sort of that base color, and then I will come back and add some additional details later on. Getting a little bit more of that peach color and adding a little bit more detail to the nose. I try to work really on areas that are not touching each other so that the colors don't bleed into one another as I'm working, and then adding a little bit more of a pink tinge to the nose as well. Now that I have the shade of green that I was looking for mixed up, I'm going to start on the hat. I tend to sort of outline an area with my brush, and then I will go back and fill in the rest of the area with that same color so that I don't have to be quite as precise the whole time. I try to lay the hat just on top of the nose. Sometimes I get it close enough, and other times I do have to go back and sort of add a little bit more. And I was trying to keep the center part of the hat just a little bit lighter so that when I go back in and add some of the shadows to create some of the wrinkles in the hat, it'll show up just a little bit more. So while it's still wet, I'm adding in some of those details there. And then here too, just trying to add a little bit more shadow to the bottom part of the hat. And then a little bit at the top just for some detailing there. And then now I'm taking a finer detail brush and a little bit of a darker color of brown. And I'm going to just start making some lines across the sign. making sort of some random swirls to make it look like wood grain. This was not something I had tried before. This was a very spur of the moment thought on my part, but I was pleased with how it turned out in the end. And then here, starting in with the first layer on the beard, I always start with kind of a light wash of a gray. This is a little bit more of a different tone of a gray than I normally use because I used some of the ones out of the Essence palette, which I had just gotten. So it was a little bit different, but I like the way it turned out. And then while that's still nice and wet, I will go through and add a little bit of a darker tone and add some lines there. Again, just sort of as an underpainting almost for the beard to make sure it has lots of texture and dimension. And start adding in some shadows underneath the top of the hat and underneath the nose there a little bit to create more of a shadow. And then I'm going to go back and add a little bit more to the beard slash hair as I'm just finishing up the final details on this one. Trying to make it look a little bit scraggly and a little less triangular shaped there, and adding a little bit more detail of the beard near the sign and to the outside edges of his beard. I started out here trying to use a white gel pen for the lettering part on the sign, but it was not turning out like I wanted. So I ended up giving up on that and using a brush with some white watercolor ink that I had to make that show up a lot better. So you'll see me start here with a pen and then I end up finishing with a brush. So that is the final details on this painting. If you enjoy following along on these monthly watercolor gnomes, I would appreciate if you give me a like and a follow and give me some ideas for what you want to see for April.